their homestead within the city of Pearsall. It is also my understanding the family, the city secretary, and the zoning commission have complied with all the rules and requirements as prescribed and in support of the zoning modification. Mr. Mayor, I publicly offer my support to the Ayala family, and I would respectfully ask that the city of Pearsall City Council make a motion, second, and vote to grant the Ayala zoning application without further delay. Finally, if anyone in today's meeting would like to talk to me, please feel free to call me on my cell phone at 210-844-0818 or visit my website to learn more at www.electherrera.com. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for your time. Guys, have a good Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas if I don't see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And I forgive me, I don't know if we're allowed to do political announcements here. I don't know that. Anyway, I took your comments regarding this particular agenda item, so I'll consult with council whether I'm allowed to permit that going forward. But citizens, forgive me if I don't know if I'm allowed to allow a political comment like that. But nonetheless, thank you for your voice regarding that subject. And I will find out the answer to that going forward. Okay, now it's the mayor's message moment time, item number 5. Guys, I just wanted to touch real briefly again about the consent agenda. We'll see that going forward in an attempt to move these meetings up. They're lasting about 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours, so we want to try to make that go quicker. So I just want to announce that and be sure that you study up on that so that you're ready to vote when we get there. The second item is, got a chance to visit with Davina earlier last week, and really want to push forward with this. I think some of the topics this evening and some of the folks that people have talked about is are our ordinances too tough? Are our requirements difficult for us to allow citizens to build? Because I can tell you, and I think I can speak for the council, and if not, forgive me of that, but I think I can say that we all want to see people build homes. That is an objective of the city. It helps us in so many ways. Homeownership is a blessing and a great benefit to the city, as well as increasing the tax base and that kind of thing. So our objective is not to be a difficult obstacle to overcome. But anyway, I'm going to see if we can't push forward with that and get Davina to chair a subcommittee of counselors to bring some ideas to the council, to see if we can look at doing that and do so rather quickly. And we do. We have, if you look at our ETJ, which is our extraterrestrial jurisdiction within the city, there is area that can be developed. And we need to, there's things that we can do to incentivize development and help the process. So certainly I really would ask you, Davina, and some others that may be interested in serving on that. Maybe we can get a citizen or two to meet me after this meeting and see if we can proceed with that. Also, I'm excited to announce too, we're going to be going over our financial stuff at the end of the meeting, and just to keep everybody abreast of where we are, and as we continue to move forward from this point, we'll be reporting on that so you guys can track our status. And so that'll be at the end of the meeting. But two, I also wanted to report and give a hats off to our city manager and our CFO, who has currently left us. But we were in arrears on our audits, and that has a pretty negative implication on the city's ability to borrow funds, which is important as we move forward with some major infrastructure, as Mr. Trevino was telling us. And so we are caught up with our audits, and a key to doing that is turning in our data by November of this year. And so I want to report, talking to our financial department this morning or this afternoon, we should have that done by the end of this month. So I'm really excited in that, and that will enable our CPA to provide us our audits on time, which is important. Just want to talk about that. Then also too, guys, we had a city council meeting where we talked about the pillars. And one of the things I want us to talk about, it seems like we move through budget season and then various other things, and we get through the holidays, and then before you know it, half of our term is gone. And so one of the things that I desired, I think we all have, is to be what is our legacy gonna be as the servants of the city? What are we gonna be known for? And so I really want us not to just be reactive from council meeting to council meeting, but proactive. And we had a really good meeting where we established some pillars. And I know it's important that we incorporate those with our master development plan that we will have about in March, which is gonna identify some key components of the things that we need to be working on. So I just want you guys to be thinking about that as we move forward, what you guys would like to see accomplish us as servants of our community in that regard. And so you'll be hearing more about that as we move forward. But we can bring those pillars even to the table next meeting and then keep those familiar so that when we get our comprehensive master plan, we can marry the two and move the city forward in a positive way. Additionally, too, we had our first meeting last month of our emergency planning. So we're going to be doing that this month and continue on. I invite any citizen that has a desire to kind of see some of our emergency planning. We had a snow event last year that kind of created some havoc, and so we're just doing some things to make sure that as much as possible we can be prepared for that. And I'll let you know that was one of the pillars that we felt was important, that we were prepared to help as much as possible. You can't foresee every emergency, you can't see what it looks like, but you know, food, water, shelter, gas, security, all those things are important. So we're identifying those. And with that, we're going to move on to the rest of our meeting. But thank you for indulging me that comment, those comments. So now we're going to move on to item 7A. This is a presentation of the CDBG grant. And this is a requirement. This is not anything new, folks. This is something that is required for the grant that we got to do some sewer work over on the west side. LME, I think, was responsible for getting that established. And so we're just about to get done. We expect a punch list very quickly. And so this is just complying with what was a grant that paid for roughly about 2/3 of that project. We had some buy-in. We had a little bit of difficulties, you guys remember previously. But anyway, Fred, if you want to take it away and just discuss where we are on 7A.
Yes, Mayor, again, this is a requirement of the grant, the CDBG grant that we were given. Christina Worsham, actually, that helped the grant administrator, was on the call. I think can you hear us, Christina? Maybe not. Let me get on the mic. Christina, can you hear us? Okay, great. Well, we can't hear you, but give us just a second, and we'll try to get you. Are you on mute? No, you're not. Let's see if we can get this thing up and running. Hopefully technology is our friend today. Give us just a minute.
So folks, what this is just roughly is, I guess probably 2 years ago, we got a grant to do some sewer repair work on the west side, and it's been, we were probably, I don't know exactly, but maybe 2,000 or 3,000 feet of old sewer lines replaced with some new modern lines. And so, again, this was Texas Department of Agriculture grant, where they paid 2/3, we paid 1/3. I'm just about to wrap it up. So again, this is protocol, dotting the i's and crossing the t's in order to accomplish this.
Can she hear us?
Can you hear us? Hello? Can you hear us, Christina?
Can
We
you
just
hear
can't
us?
hear you. Okay. Well, this is not.
No. Yes. Yeah. It's on. It says new computer audio, so that means it's on.
Could we go to, can we
Yeah,
go to the open,
yeah,
the
good point.
public
We'll see
hearing?
about that. Thank you very much. Staff, we need to accomplish this to meet those requirements, but in the interim, we're going to move on to item 8A. This is now 6:30 on the dot, and we're going to go into an open public hearing. This is going to be on a request for a conditional use permit for Jorge and Petra Ayala to place a 2001 double-wide manufactured home. Property legal description is 3.803 acres long,
There.
laying in
we
the
can hear you.
Pablo Ortiz Survey, number 1439, abstract 530 in the city of Pearsall, Frio County. Property is currently zoned A1 agricultural open space. City Manager Fred, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Yes. Mayor and Council, this is an application, that came through, some months back. There's been some revisions to the survey that was provided now. This is to place a mobile home again on the property there off of Roosevelt. And so what you have before you is the request for the conditional use permit. The applicant, again, made some corrections and some changes to their application. But if you look at it, you can see the application, you can see where they secured an easement. Let me get to the page really quick, I'm kind of lost here.
91?
Page 91.
It's a 20-foot easement secured for water and for electricity as well.
Yes, so that was an easement that they purchased approximately 3.8 acres of property here in this area. It sits behind the current home, and so they're requesting permission to place for utilities. And what we'll do from here on, what we've been doing is assigning an address once council approves a conditional use permit. We, planning and zoning met last night on this and discussed, and what they were asking is that they were okay with allowing this, with the understanding that if the applicant decided to subdivide the area back there behind where they live, again, they're not using the entire 3.8 acres up. You can see in their little drawing there.
Is that North Roosevelt or South Roosevelt?
This is North Roosevelt, so you can see that, let me go to it on page 95, council. Page 95 of your packet. You can see the drawing and where they're gonna run, where they plan on running water. And so what we did, the city do, we will put a meter there on Roosevelt, and they will run a service line to their property. That line, correct me if I'm wrong, Hector, is fortified by a 6-inch water line that runs on Roosevelt. So they're gonna run a service line to their property towards the back. They're also gonna run, you can see the power there on that, and there's on there also septic system. So they have septic there on their track that they're proposing. Of course, the city does not have, we do not have sewer services out there. There are no sewer services in that area. There's some off of Chaparral, but none off of Roosevelt. So that's the requesting, and again, that was the recommendation of the P and Z last night, is to allow with the understanding that they have to come back to planning and zoning into the city council if they decide to subdivide that 3.8 acre tract. That's all.
Okay, we're still in an open public meeting, so I'm gonna allow first comment from any of our, remember, it's going to be an action item that we're gonna talk about later, but any comments regarding to the open meeting?
I don't have any, Mayor.
I had a question.
You have questions for the open meeting, or when we go to discuss for action?
We'll discuss, I guess.
Okay, because this isn't for the action item yet. The floor is open if anybody else would like to make a comment regarding this.
Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lozano.
I have a question. I believe the city manager stated that they wouldn't issue an address until the council approved the conditional use. Is that what I understood?
That is correct. Right now, again, we don't have an address for this because of the conditional use permit. Well, we have, I'll be quite frankly, it has happened. My knowledge, that's happened. But
What ordinance are you citing there? I don't believe there's an ordinance that says that.
the ordinance, you actually brought up a good point. The ordinance is silent as far as addressing your subdivision regulations, your zoning, but on the other end, what that does allow is for utilities. So what's happened in the past, and I'll just speak
No,
to this.
I'm just addressing
No,
the
no,
address.
I just want to make sure I understand what happens, and I think you may or may not be aware, but the utilities then, and I think what I've seen so, the time I've been here, is the utilities then are turned on once they have an address. So that's the only, one of the safeguards that you have as a city, but there is no, it is silent as far as issuing an address.
So there's no authority for that address.
There is no,
Besides the city manager, right, besides your,
that's exactly right.
it's up to the council.
Yes,
Okay, we're still in open session.
Yes, I have a comment on the same situation as the address. That's what started my problem. I
I'm gonna
requested,
keep it to this specific issue.
well, just specific addressing.
It's
What
the
I'm trying to
same
do is point out the importance of an address.
Yeah.
And he denied me an address for it till last week. Now, what would happen to the city if there was an emergency? If I were to call the dispatch and tell them, I need an address, what address? I don't know, the city won't give me one.
Well, it's not supposed to be occupied until you have the address.
But I've been paying taxes over 50 years on it.
Mayor,
Okay, all right.
Mayor, I have a question and a comment.
All right, Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Question for our city attorney. Where they're referring to the addresses, I see a point, and I don't agree with the mayor when they said that nobody should be living there. But they own the property. The property belongs to somebody. Just because they don't live there and they get hurt cutting the grass, like we want them to cut the grass, and they get cut with the blade to the lawnmower, how is EMS gonna go out there?
Well, because they're
I
living in a
want
house
to
that
ask
does
this
have
question because our former city attorney has a point. When did we stop issuing the address? And who gave that authority to pull that address and wait till they get approved with a conditional use permit? We pulled that. Who pulled it? Did we pull it or did you pull it from?
You want me to answer that question?
Yes.
I will. Part of what you're saying is correct, part of what you're saying. The other part is this, and again, this is part of there's always the other side, right, whatever that is. What we've had and what's been conveyed to me by council members is they don't know how structures get there. People just come in, now, I'm going to my question here, I'm going to my answer, so give me the time. What they're saying is nobody ever gave people permission to put a trailer, whatever the case may be, whatever structure. And so what people have done historically, again, I'm not gonna have a whole chronology of this, but I will say this, is they get the address, they turn on the utilities, the council, at least some council members have said, we were never aware that there was even a trailer granted, we had no idea. It should come through a conditional use permit. I agree with the former city attorney. It should come through a conditional use permit, and saying that, that's the question, again, that I'm getting at is, okay, how do we make the assurance that people aren't giving utilities and allowed to put a structure that shouldn't be there or it hasn't been approved by council?
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
the answer to that is that we have a department. Mr. Lugo runs that department. And that's where we
No, he
go, and
doesn't, yeah.
or who runs the department that goes in sites? Okay, then your job is to get in your car and go to that apartment, to that property, and if they have a structure that's not approved, then we gotta cite them. That's why we have a municipal judge.
I know my job.
Okay,
What I'm
so
saying
that's
is
what
that-
I'm saying.
what I'm-
We don't have the authority to put the
I can
address.
tell you this, what I've seen, and
One person at a time has the floor.
what I've
You
seen
get
and
the
what
floor.
was being conveyed, and it's happened to me more than one time here, since I've been here. Once you allow that address, and again, once that happens, again, this former city attorney is correct. The utilities come on, AEP turns on power, and it's happened. I can give you examples. I can give you one clear one that happened less than 6 months ago. Utilities turn on, water's turned on, everything's turned on, and then something shows up, the structure shows up, whatever the case may be. Again, I could go back and forth. The question then becomes, again, a good point, it's the code is silent, meaning it says, well, who has the authority, who doesn't have the authority? Bobby can correct me on this if I'm wrong. But it is that question is should we assign addresses? At what point? At what point, if nobody's living at the structure, or nobody's living in that area? I see your point as far as maybe there's an incident there, the hypothetical. On the other end is, the questions we get is, well, how did that structure end up there if the council was never made aware? I mean, I've been over this more than one occasion. We have been over this.
And council, I will tell you, Nina, specifically, this is a great thing for you to address as you look at things within the city that may be an obstacle that's too high. And so, as pertaining to this particular item that we're talking about, the Ayala family, as we close out our public hearing, I would tell you let's bring that back and just see if it's something that's adversarial for the benefit of the city and or the citizens and how we could perhaps work together.
Mayor,
But
and
on
I
that note,
understand that,
And-
but when we go back to the action item, the address is not even on there.
Exactly.
So these people are gonna wait another 3-4 months.
That's not gonna be.
But who gives that authority? That's what I don't understand.
What-
Nowhere in the action item does it say that we're gonna give them an address. And nowhere, I don't remember voting, I've been here 3 years already. prior to that, I was there 4 years.
Prior,
But we always issued an address.
can I correct you on that? The folks that have been issuing the addresses.
I need input.
Okay,
Let me just finish.
No,
What- what
no,
is it?
too, but I need,
Mr.
I
Garcia,
established 911 in this county.
Mr. Garcia, one at a time.
Let me just, again, on this, end, prior to about 6 months ago, the entity that was issuing addresses was the county, Mr. Callaway. That was being done, and I'll share this, again, I don't wanna get into
We're not.